As Real as It Gets, episode 5. The song is Ancestors. Ancestors. Well, it's been a difficult few days for me. I had a real effort attitude. Uh, you know, I've got life going on in the background of trying to put something out here that helps people that have struggled with trauma, drug addiction, alcoholism, overeating, gambling. It really doesn't matter what it is, working out too much. Also, identifying passion and, maybe using that to find a career path forward instead of how much can I earn, using my logic and how much I could earn to move forward in life is really what drove me to choose a career in driving semi-truck after losing my job as a bicycle mechanic. But I should probably back up. I'm really dysregulated today. I've been dysregulated the last few days. I'm going to try real hard here to, step one, I'm powerless over this situation. The people and my life is unmanageable. And the unmanageability is when I become so dysregulated that I can't do the things that I want to do in the day for myself to show myself love, like doing my laundry, doing my grocery shopping, anything other than just waking up and making my bed and then sitting here for hours trying to think myself into doing something, and even 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 doesn't work. So anyway, the song was Ancestors, and I start with the song and I'm supposed to give an explanation of the song, so I think I should do that. Ancestors. So I learned about ancestors a little over 31 years ago. It was the summer before I got clean and sober. I was living in Chicago, and the woman that I was dating at the time came to me one day and said that there was a group of people that were performing spell work and death rituals on me. And I remember the feeling of hurt rushed through me. I'm like, why would these people attack me that way? I've done nothing to them but be a decent person. But I looked at the woman that I was dating, and I said, well, that's just stupid. My ancestors would never allow that to happen. And really, I didn't even know what I was saying, because at the time, I didn't even believe in God. Something inside of me believed in the spirit world, but at the same time, I was denying um, the existence of a creator, of God, of a loving, creative intelligence of the universe that actually does care about us as individuals. So I just laughed it off. I said, well, my ancestors would never have that, allow that to happen, as far as their spell work or whatever. This, I don't do spell work, I don't do witchcraft, I don't do voodoo. I don't even know, I can't say if it works or not, because I don't play around with that kind of stuff. But I have definitely been shown by God, um, through me in ways, and through signs and synchronicities, that, well, the spirit world exists, God exists, and it's not something really to be played with. So, um, to me, my ancestors are all my passed on relatives, my spirit guides and ancestors. I don't know if they're different, if there's appointed guardian angels, but I do know that I have a whole lot of 2 hands and 2 feet I can't count of people that have passed on in my life that I loved very dearly. And at least on my 2 hands, I can probably count the family members and really truly close loved ones that have passed away. But these 2 hands are full with passed on loved ones, and family members. And it started happening when I was very young. So I believe I have a team of ancestors that have been watching over me, and keeping me safe throughout my life in situations where I wasn't in my best state of mind, and I placed myself in positions that I could have not lived through. So my ancestors have protected me from me and from others. I do believe that. So I don't know how long this video is gonna be. I didn't want to do it because yesterday I didn't do it, and I wanted to do it yesterday, but I just couldn't bring myself to do this video. And I've decided to just go with staying consistent again, because this is my challenge. These are my real struggles, my real challenges, is how do I stay consistent, especially when the results aren't right now. And I don't care if it's overeating, I don't care if it's gambling, if it's working out at the gym, if it's heroin, if it's alcohol, it does not matter. Those things have an immediate result. And so putting videos out here, and I've been putting my music on Facebook for probably about 2 years now. Once I started to really feel confident in the songs that I had created enough that I could really put them out there, I started putting regular content on Facebook. I don't get a whole lot of comments. I get a lot of views. I can see the views, and I get a fair amount of likes. And it's not that I care about the likes and shares and subscribes and all that stuff, but I am attempting to reach a certain audience. Now, I know that there are analytics and Backpage and Office, whatever, in Facebook and in YouTube, where I can pay to have my content reach a certain audience. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. And I'm gonna share the bad thing in a few minutes here. And it's caused a great deal of even heightened, like, my challenge in staying consistent, due to content that I found in my YouTube feed, content I wasn't looking for, content that I had never done any research about before, just magically appeared in my YouTube feed 4 years ago. And when I came across this content, well, I believe it confirmed the question I had asked God: what would motivate these people around me to be doing the things they are doing to me, and basically gaslighting me so They throw a rock at the house. You see them throw a rock at the house. You confront the person throwing the rock at the house and they say, "You're crazy. I'd never do that." Well, when you have physical and digital and just evidence all the way around, uh, evidence with interference with my business transactions where somebody actually stole $48,000 from me and blocked my monthly royalties on a franchise placement deal. Um, and I can't seem to get anybody within my family or within the police community, even a lawyer, to actually spend some time talking with me and see, geez, how do I go forward in bringing these people in and my name being cleared, my money getting brought back to me so I can actually be self-sustainable through the things that I've done. I should have $48,000 in my account from a franchise placement fee. And these people just ghosted me, literally ghosted me. I make the calls and the texts and they do not return the calls and texts. And this is a professional business person whom I made a transaction with. So these kind of things in a day can dysregulate me like crazy. I'm in a situation where I've been denied Social Security 4 different times by the United States government, and I paid my taxes for 28 years. And the therapist I had been seeing for 7 years said, "You're exhausted. You have severe PTSD. You should apply for Social Security, and I strongly encourage you to meet with a trauma specialist." I followed the orders, and I got denied. I didn't even get a stimulus check. So clearly, there is some foul play taking place in the background of my life, behind the scenes. And I'm going to use some of this language because the content that I had found on YouTube 4 years ago, when I'm sitting in my apartment one day fuming, I was angry, I was mad because the person above me kept making strange sounds through the ceiling. I don't even know how they did it. But the sounds didn't start until maintenance had been up in that apartment that day, moved a bunch of stuff around, and that evening there were noises. And I know it sounds crazy to even say it. I hate even saying this because I'm taking risks. But I'm hoping that the FBI, that somebody with their head screwed on properly, sees and hears these messages. Someone with the FBI, because I have digital and physical evidence of a very big criminal ring that is stealing money from American citizens and sending the money to Jamaica. I have physical evidence. I know who the people are. I can lead you right to them, FBI. I went to the local FBI and was laughed out of their office. So I'm getting angry now. I'm putting this out here. And it's not just this big criminal organization that I was attacked by. There is somebody who is trying to isolate me and block all of my money moves, so I have absolutely no support or security in my life. And I've looked at myself over and over. Is this just my shadow self? You know, am I sabotaging my life and then trying to point a finger at somebody else? Absolutely not. I have the evidence. Who it actually is, I believe to be my own mother. I caught her in some lies recently that were undeniable. Wow, this woman really, and she's done it so many times to me and I never even noticed it before. She is a master at manipulation. She is a very charming woman. She was an educator to children with autism, and she had an in-home daycare in her home for the entire time from the age of 8 years old or 9 years old for me until I moved out when I was 18. There was a daycare in the house. And thinking back to my childhood, my mother never spent time with me like she spent with those daycare children. Now, I've seen movies and TV shows, you know, where a person becomes a psychopath and they strap up their mother and they watch their mother torture somebody the way their mother tortured them. And That's not me. That's not me. I'm not out for revenge here. I'm out for justice. I'm 53 years old, and I've been tortured by this woman my whole life who nobody would ever in a billion years suspect because she is a charming, kind, sweet woman. Sweet to everybody except for her son. I don't know if she was jealous of me or if she hated it, but I should have died 3 times by the age of 5, and those are just the serious traumas. The other things are like, if they would have happened along with loving and nurturing the right way from my mother, I may have felt like I had everything I needed, and I may have felt safe at home, and I may not have, wanted to be gone the second the sun was up and not want to ever come home again, especially when she left my abusive dad and then got married to another abusive man. And again, this wasn't physical abuse. This was mental and emotional abuse. I was absolutely terrified of the man that my mother married when I was 7 years old. So, and those relationships mended after I got clean and sober, and I did my inventory, and I took all that stuff from childhood. I looked at it as my fault. I was the problem. That's what I learned in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm the problem. I was born an alcoholic and I'm the problem. You know what? I was born with the disease of alcoholism, but I was not born with mental and emotional grief and trouble. These things happened from prolonged exposure to neglect, meaning I don't pay any attention to you. I'll love bomb you at Christmas and birthday and all that, but in between, just straight up ignore me. And then tell me, well, later on in life when I talked to my mom, I said, why didn't you this or that? And well, you just did whatever you wanted. We couldn't control you. You just did what you wanted. And I think, wow, she's right. And then I go, wait a second. I was a child. What do you mean I just did what I wanted? I was a child. I was a newborn, an infant, a child, a toddler, a preteen, you just did what you wanted. We had no control. No, she didn't care. She didn't care. She wished I wouldn't show up back at the door. And at some point when I wasn't around, of course, she's got to show other people that she cares and go out looking for me or, yell at me for not coming home and being late. And so this woman has worked with my ex-wife and people that I worked with in business to literally block my money moves. So I have to go and ask my mom for help financially. This is a very mentally ill person. And her husband is a straight narcissist. He'll be 90 years old this year. And after a drive with them this summer, I remember feeling real nervous before I showed up to my parents' house. I got to my parents' house. My stepdad was kind of nitpicking and bitching about a couple of things that, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. And we took the drive. We dropped off my younger brother. We got back to town, and some dumb things were going on with the traffic. I'm like, wow, people are just terrible. Calm down, he says. And I'm like, I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I wasn't flailing and all this. I simply made a statement. And this man acted as if I just was screaming at the top of my lungs. And I eventually ended up screaming at the top of my lungs, telling this guy to shut his fucking mouth. Pardon my language. But really? This guy is almost 90 years old. And by the time I was done, you win, you win, you win, he says to me. Wait, I win what? Are we 6? I'm not in a fight to win. I just said, please do not critique my driving. I drove semi-truck over the road for 15 years, a professional driver. He speeds around and disobeys the signs. I pay attention to the signs. And while I might drive a little faster once in a while, no more do I go ramming my way through traffic. I sit back, I relax, and when things get stupid, I do voice outside. to myself if nobody was in the car, wow, what an idiot. How does that person even have a license? I don't sit there and have a big, long, drawn out conversation with myself about it, but I'm just blown away at how oblivious people are, putting their makeup on, texting on their phone, like anything except for paying attention to driving. Now we have to have autonomous drivers because people can't even drive their car. They got to have a little button they push that'll parallel park their car because they can't parallel park their car. And you know what? Not everybody's going to be a good driver. That's fine. Don't drive. Let somebody who actually will pay attention to the road, because people are murdered daily with cars. I have many friends that were murdered by cars because somebody was text messaging and didn't pay it, and killed my friends. My friends lost their family, lost their children. The children lost their parents. These things, people just need to wake up and get out of the matrix for at least 5 minutes while they're going across town. Put the fucking phone down. They're at a concert, they're watching a show, and they're in their phone. They're not even recording it. They're literally finger flicking and text messaging. And I'm like, why did they waste their money to come see this awesome person perform amazing music if they're going to keep their face stuck in the screen? Not that I haven't been guilty of it, but I do only allow myself a certain amount of screen time daily. And each week I look at my digital health. You used your phone 57 minutes less this week than last week, or you used your phone an hour and 35 minutes more this week than you did last week. And I'm like, wow, that's terrible. Oh, wait, I recorded some videos and I've been watching them and on my own recording on my phone, so I'm still using screen time, but it's not just finger flicking and stuck in the matrix. That is a real easy way to get sucked out of doing the things I want to do. It's a comfort zone to, sit down, watch TV, sit down, finger flick through Facebook Marketplace looking at guitars I can't buy or mobile homes that I can't buy. I mean, motor homes, not mobile homes, or a camper that I can pull behind my truck because I'd like to just leave. I'd love to leave where I'm at, but there's a problem. I won't leave where I'm at until the crimes that have been committed against me have been uncovered and these people held accountable. And I told my mom, I said, if I am forced to investigate this, if I am forced to do these things, people will die and people will go to prison. And my mom, she got all mad, when I said, right now it looks like you and your brother don't accuse my family. So she didn't say our family, it's her family. And of course, I was pointing a finger at you and her brother and her sister-in-law because I have every reason to. And I'll expose all this in time. But for now, I'm going to say that what happened to me 4 years ago, I was at really a place where I was ready to get consistent with some things again. Like I felt like I was ready to start doing something like this. I could make some videos. I could put them out. I might be able to start communicating with people again in the community. There were certain things that I felt like I could do that might help my life. And one day I sat down and I put on my YouTube because I was going to put on some music to clean my apartment. And instead of music being in my feed, there was a tarot reading. And again, I've never looked up tarot readings. I've never had a tarot reading done in my life before. My mother used to do tarot when I was a teenager. My mother talked about out-of-body experiences. Her and her best friend used to play with an Ouija board. And then one day, me and my friend and another friend, we played with it and the lights flickered off and on us. And I never did that again. I believed in the spirit world, but to a degree, I really don't know. Again, I'm not some spiritualist that claims to know everything. I'm not a clergyman or a priest or a rabbi or anything, ordained, nothing. But I have been shown in so many ways for myself I can't deny the existence of the Creator for myself. And as I share these stories and I share the evidences and my testimony, you can decide for yourself. I'm not going to try to convince anybody of anything, but the writing's on the wall for me. So these noises start coming through my ceiling the evening after building maintenance had been up in that apartment upstairs. They made a bunch of noise moving furniture around. It was the middle of the week, middle of the afternoon. I didn't care about the noise during the day. It was that evening when weird sounds started coming through my ceiling that were not anything that fits inside of a box of normal in an apartment. You got this, there's some noise pollution when you live in a multi-person unit. I get that, but not noises that don't make sense. Clearly, it's some kind of a recording through a speaker through the ceiling. Now, it sounds insane, right? Well, not when I'm sitting there and I'm going, dude, and I confront the guy and he says, why? What am I doing? If I knew what I was doing, I'd stop doing it. And then I'd have a friend over and they'd hear it and they'd be going, well, that sounds strange. That's not like any noise I've heard before. I know the volume changes, the pitch changes. It doesn't make sense. This is 4 years later. Well, I lived in that building for a whole year of that going on before one day I'm like, what would motivate somebody to do something so cruel to somebody? God, what did I do to deserve this from this guy upstairs? He egged my door? I got pictures of the eggs on my door. He cleaned my door. He put KY jelly on my doorknob. My apartment was broken into, and a knit hat that belonged to my ex-girlfriend, a plate of spaghetti, and a magazine, a Cosmopolitan magazine, were left on my floor next to my coffee table. Now, that day when I left with a person. We were together. We were gone for about 2 hours. Never left each other's side, came back to the apartment, and there that stuff was on my floor. So my apartment had been entered, something had been left, and it looks like my ex was the one who did it. She was the only one who ever had a key to my apartment, gave it back to me, claimed that it wasn't her. So either she did it and she's a liar, or somebody stole that hat from her and put that stuff in my apartment to make it look like she did it. Again, this is 4 years later. And this stuff hasn't been resolved. Things had been stolen out of my apartment. So these tarot readings that I came across just mysteriously appeared in my YouTube feed one day. The very first one in new to you or recommended new to you, and then there's all this other stuff. None of it was music. And all I ever listened to was music in my YouTube. I had never, ever done anything but watch and listen to music. Why is there a tarot reading in my YouTube feed? Well, I have a suspicion of a couple reasons. Well, first of all, I asked God, why? What is this guy's motive? Why would somebody do this to me? And there's all kinds of other strange things going on that I just kind of, it's just weird coincidence. It's just some strange, weird stuff. So I blew it all off. And then I opened my YouTube feed. And the first one had a headline that made me go, huh? Because it resonated with me very deeply about the ex-girlfriend and the situation and how it all ended, and the fact that it looks like she entered my apartment, didn't even break in. She entered my apartment with a key, left these things on my floor, and then denied it. Again, gaslighting causes what's called cognitive dissonance. And it is it's very unexplainable feeling, let's put it that way. And it's very uncomfortable. It really literally makes you feel like you have lost your mind. I felt like I had lost my mind, and I still daily question my sanity with the dumb shit that goes on around me in my environment, and the lies from my mom, the stonewalling from my ex-wife, who will just at no cost whatsoever let me see our son, let our son have a relationship with his dad. She refuses. I couldn't even get a local lawyer to help me. So something's not right here. Now, my family is held in high regard within the community here. So my mom and my uncle could go to anybody, a judge, a lawyer who they went to high school with, and they could blackmail, convince, or bribe, or just say, he's nothing. Just take this. And that's when I went, oh, you got to be kidding me. So it said that first reading, it had a headline that had to do with a relationship, a twin flames reading. And I'm like, what? And it said, watch now. So I hit play and I watched, and I was in disbelief as this tarot reader explained my entire relationship with this woman. And of course, other people around the globe are going to resonate with these readings. It is for a collective. But again, I hadn't been doing any research on tarot. I just straight up asked the universe, what is this going on around me? What would motivate somebody to be so cruel, so evil? And then the next one had a headline that said something about stolen inheritance, gang stalking, harassment, cyberbullying. And I went, yep, that's it. What? And I watched this reading. And this person didn't just go into what was going on. This person described my life. I'm talking about a divine feminine, and I already went through this. I'm a man. I'm a heterosexual man. I operate more out of the feminine. I am the nurturer, creator, rather than the provider, protector. However, I have to take care of me, so I do it all. I'm a very well-balanced human being. I can operate out of feminine or masculine energy, has nothing to do with gender. See? But people think that feminine means female because the word fem is in it. Well, feminine is the creator. God is the creator. God is what? The Alpha and the Omega. What is that? The masculine and the feminine energy. God is everything. I am creation. I am a creator. I am the divine feminine in these tarot readings online. There may be a collective of people that are going to resonate with this shit, but I came across this 4 years ago, right now. Actually, next month, it was May, 4 years ago, that I opened my YouTube one day and was shocked, was blown away. And the unfortunate thing is that they said, oh, these people got caught. These people are all caught. Don't worry, it's on the way. So what I was saying is this person talked about, I'm talking about a divine feminine. You could be very creative. You probably do something with music, or you're an artist. Well, I'm both. I paint, I draw, and of course, music is my main artistic gift. So I'm talking about a creative individual. You lost your virginity to rape. You lived in New York once upon a time. You know of 2 deaths in the 80s. One was bludgeoned to death, one was poisoned. As this person gives this description, I'm like, it's too accurate. Somebody either knows me, or these things that these people are doing are real. These tarot readings are real. I can tell the difference between an AI tarot reading and an actual human being doing a tarot reading. They are completely different. But the AI is just as accurate as the humans. And that irritates me too, because there was these other messages, the chosen collective and the chosen ones and all this. And so now, as I'm trying to really I wasn't in a good place. I was using methamphetamine at the time, so people might have really been thinking, oh, you just need to lay off the drugs. And I questioned, but see, I wasn't even using it every single day at that time anymore. I'd go a few days without, and I'd go get high with a friend for a day, and then I'd go for a few days. And it was kind of off and on like that for about a year. And one day it was done. And now it's been over 3 years since I've touched meth or crack cocaine or any of that shit. The marijuana it's been one of those rides for me. I smoked over the weekend again. Why? Well, I've got friends in AA that I call and I say, I'm hurting and I could use a friend, and they don't even call me. And then their excuse is, well, I'm busy, and I reach out to people I've known for over 30 years, and they just act like I don't exist. I start calling them. I start commenting when they have a heart attack. I don't even comment like, wow, I'm glad you're alive, guy, because clearly you could care less if I was alive. Now, that's not really spiritual. That's just my hurt coming out. My hurt coming out is anger that, every time that guy needed help, I dropped everything I was doing and went and helped my friend. And guess what I don't do anymore? When people need help sometimes, I just straight say no. And I see how they react. Or I just don't answer any of the messages that people put out. Even in a recovery community, looking for somebody to go share their experience, strength, and hope. I'm not doing this anymore for these people. And it's not even for them, it's for me. But as I go there, I'm still got all this garbage in my head that I can't seem to get rid of, because these people who are held in such high regard in the community have judges and lawyers in their back pocket. Literally, my life from the time I can remember to this very moment could be a psycho thriller movie. And my mom is the psycho. My mom is the mentally ill person. My mom is the one who's so charming and cute and sweet. You would not in a billion years suspect this woman to do such heinous, cruel things to her child. But she has. When I turn on the TV and I turn on Pandora, and the very first song is I'm thinking all this, and I'm trying to say, my mom could, no way. And the song is by Seven Dust, and the song is Denial. Well, clearly I'm in denial. And the next song is like Rude Awakening by Prong. And at the bottom of it, True Story. And I'm like, this can't possibly be true. I go to the vape store. I buy a vape. And I open up the vape and I take it out. And before I hit it, I usually just kind of take a look at these. Oh, this says Quasar. This one said True Story in huge letters, just like the Quasar letters there. But this one said True Story on it. As I'm going, is this really real? And so I go to my mom and I try to talk to her about some of the signs and synchronicities, and I'm like, I can forgive absolutely anything. Maybe you and the family kept an inheritance that belonged to me because you were afraid that I'd just blow it all on drugs. Why didn't you just come to me and tell me, oh, you're crazy. You're out of your mind. We'd never do such a thing. Nobody left you anything. Well, I wouldn't have thought so either. But then again, man, I'm 53 years old, and I've known a lot of very wealthy people in my life, and I'm pretty sure that some of these people actually paid attention to how I moved and operated clean and sober, and owning a semi-truck, 4 semi-trucks over a 15-year period. Not owning them, the bank owned them, but I drove the truck, I made the payments, paid for the fuel, paid for the repairs, paid for the maintenance, paid for my fuel tax, paid my annual tax. I mean, lazy? Not. Working 20 hours a day, sometimes 3 days straight without sleep, clean and sober, no drugs, 100% legitimate, Being in a car accident, can't do that kind of work anymore, changing my career, going through the training, implementing everything I learned, working again 20 hours a day, rebuilding a house on a shoestring budget and credit cards. And my aunt calling and texting me wasted after 10 o'clock at night, telling me what a disgrace I am to the family, and that I should come down off of my soapbox and quit lying to everybody when I'm clean and sober, trying to rebuild a house and start a business so in the future my family can have what it needs financially. Only to have my business acquaintances start ghosting me in the middle of transactions that are 40,000 plus. Okay? This isn't just some paranoid delusion. I was clean and sober. This stuff started happening years before I relapsed on chemicals, not alcohol. And I've already gone through this. And I'm not trying to justify the use of chemicals being okay in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely stupid. Even smoking marijuana for me is dumb, and I justify it. Well, it doesn't make me want to smoke meth. It doesn't make me want to steal anything. It doesn't make me lie to people. It doesn't this, that, or the other thing. As a matter of fact, when I smoke weed, I end up playing my guitars 2 to 3 times longer than if I wasn't smoking weed, and I create a lot more. And so I end up justifying it and realize that, well, it helps with creation, but then when I'm actually playing and practicing, halfway through a song, I forget what the hell I was doing. I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be smoking weed. But the description of an addict in the Narcotics Anonymous basic text, I don't fit the description. After 22 years of being clean, I used a chemical. It did not release the addiction all over again. Had the addiction been released, if I was an addict, I would have lost complete control. I would have sold everything immediately. I would have been full speed ahead using like I did 31 years ago. And through the 4.5 or 5 years that I used, never did I ever reach a place like that. I was out of control for a while. I was using way too much for a while. It was too easy access, and I just had given up on my own self. I didn't want to live. So I used as much as I could, and I lived, and eventually I had to go, well, no matter what I do, I can't die. People have tried to kill me. I had a guy call me on Facebook. You're not even supposed to be alive, guy. Well, clearly that was a death threat. I went to an AA meeting. I shared some of these things with a friend. And then they all thought I was crazy. And then the next time I saw one of these guys at an AA meeting, he came up to me and said, I just want to say I'm sorry. We said these things at a bonfire last weekend, and we thought you kind of maybe were a little out there, and this person confirmed. Oh no, Simon's not crazy. There's some people want him dead, and they will stop at nothing. So, paranoid and delusional, I don't know. I'm still here. I'm still alive. And guess what? I don't let anybody's death threat stop me from living my life, from going and doing my walks, going out and, going into the community to see music or to play music or anything. I don't care. Nothing's going to stop me from living. Do I feel uncomfortable and discomfort? Sure. The bullies got that much out of me. They got a reaction for a while out of me. When I came across these YouTube tarot readers that I was not looking for, it said gang stalking, harassment, your family's stolen inheritance. So now I'm talking about my mom's family, not my dad's family. My dad's family's stolen inheritance. My mom's family's stolen inheritance, a whole different one. A whole different one. No, my great uncle. And here's how I know. Because one day I'm flipping through things to watch. Oh, Mr. Deeds. I think is the name of the movie. Mr. Deeds. It's an Adam Sandler film where his great uncle passes away and leaves him $2 billion. Well, in the end, Adam Sandler wasn't the heir to his great uncle's throne. It was his butler. But his butler split it with Adam Sandler anyway, with Deeds Longfellow. So the guy's character's name is Deeds Longfellow. That's Adam Sandler's character in Mr. Deeds. So I watched this one day and I don't think anything of it, right? But then I'm out and about and I start seeing this 3-letter synchronicity everywhere. DDL, DDL, DDL. Well, DEED, DDL, Longfellow. Deeds Longfellow? Well, it could be reference to just Adam Sandler. Because all these tarot readings say that there's a celebrity got their eye on you too. And I would think, bullshit. But 3 years ago, I went to visit my old boss from Chicago, who now lives in Las Vegas, Nevada, and his next door neighbor is a Hollywood film engineer. And as I was talking to him about life and about recovery from addiction and about spirituality, he decided that my boss's living room would be a great film set to have me tell my story to his camera. So when I start to see tarot readings that say, you're about to be an overnight sensation, there's a celebrity that's been watching you for a while, I start to get real pissed off when nothing happens. Because this is years later. And I've taken risks going out to the community. This is what I mean about you have to continue. You have to stay consistent. You can't take your foot off the gas after doing the first thing and then just wait for something to happen. If you want to manifest, you have to keep moving forward. Well, I keep moving forward. I keep manifesting, and these readings that I found 4 years ago have been stuck in the same cycle for 4 years. It's not just a collective audience here. There is somebody specific that these readings are talking about. And I guarantee, I promise, it is me. I am the divine feminine in these readings. And there are going to be lots of people that resonate. Lots of people have had family inheritances stolen from them. Lots of people have been gang-stalked and harassed and bullied by many different organizations because of who they are. We see it in movies, and then people think that that's just a movie, that didn't really actually happen to somebody. So I'm putting this out here, and I'm going to show you my emotion about it. I'm going to be just as nuts as you fucking want to see somebody be. I'm going to tell my truth exactly how it is. There's a woman, SAA, Karmic Tarot. I like her. There's another woman, Maji. Maji got the tea. She's from New York. I like her. There's another woman, Frankie's Tarot. I like her. There's another guy, JDS, JD's Tarot. I like him. There's many more of these tarot readers that are real people doing tarot readings, and it's the same thing over and over and over again. You know why? My situation has not been resolved. I have not yet had a visit from an official person. I live on the river, and I go for daily walks, and I'm on my daily walk, and one day somebody just pulls up on me at a stop sign. Just like the reading said, this person's about to pull up on you. You haven't seen this person in years. Boom! I'm on my daily walk, and right across the river from me at a stop sign, a car pulls up, window goes down, Simon. I'm like, oh my God. Wow, how are you doing? And we have a conversation. We end up having lunch together. And over lunch, I find out that where she was visiting, right across the river from me, where I see this beautiful pontoon all the time, this woman, her friend, and her husband worked for Wolters Kluwer. Wolters Kluwer. I started hearing advertisements on the radio for Wolters Kluwer. Another friend of mine at an AA meeting works at Wolters Kluwer. Well, what is the significance of Wolters Kluwer? It used to be a company called Banker Systems that my great uncle started. My great uncle that I used to go visit, his wife, which is my actual blood aunt, when I was a kid, because they lived 6 blocks from us. I didn't go there to think that someday I'd be left in my great uncle's will. Through high school, my friends would say, oh, you're related to Bill Clemens? Man, you're lucky. I'm like, why? He's just my great uncle. I won't ever get anything from him. And that is what I believed right up until I saw these things. And I was asking, what would be the motive for somebody to drive me insane and tell me I'm crazy because they aren't doing anything to me? And then when I confront my mother, she tells me I'm crazy and to stop threatening her about people going to prison and dying while people were dropping dead around us in my son's grandparents, my ex-in-laws. 3 of his grandparents dropped like boom, boom, boom within just a couple years of each other. And people I know went to prison. People that were directly in this circle of shit that I thought were my chosen family. I'm taking a risk putting this out here. I don't really give a shit. I hope the fucking FBI sees this. I hope Donald Trump is led to see this stuff. As I have said, the United States needs a complete overhaul. You people are mismanaging this country and its people, and you need to get it right real quick. That's not a threat. It is take care of your own. Quit focusing on halfway around the freaking globe. I paid tax dollars, not these fucking assholes that are here from other countries. And ICE, that's gross. I don't care if somebody comes here legally. They got to have a right to be here, but do it right. You don't just go bullying people on the street. I'm sick of bullies. I've been bullied my whole life. And then, I was so sick of bullies. My whole life, as I was a kid, I was bullied into bullying my friends. So I was a bully too. And that that's a part I have to live with for my whole life. No matter what. I bullied people when I was a kid. And then when I was adult, I didn't bully anybody in the civilian world. But as a boss within an organization that was a violent organization, I had to be a bully to my own brothers. And I hated that. Thank God I don't belong to that shit anymore. And I hope some of those people see this because they need to grow up too. This country is a mess. The solution is simple. I mean, so simple. It says it right in our Constitution or on everything that's anything America. United we stand. Where's the unity? You people are fucking stupid. Green Day said it right. I don't want to be an American idiot. If I could leave this fucking country right now and not come back, trust me, I would. I have no allegiance to this country. The country itself, the organization that runs the United States of America is a bunch of corrupt tyrants. But what does this have to do with me and my pathway forward? Well, no matter what anybody has done to me, here I am. I need to calm down with my language. I've thrown a few F-bombs now, and that's enough. I'm pretty good at minding my language, at staying calm. But it's something I said, I want to show you just how insane Simon can act. I thought it was funny once upon a time. Say my name in Pig Latin. I'm insane. Now put an N at the end of it. I'm insane. When I was younger and partying, I thought that was funny because I acted insanely right up until I realized that insanity was the obsession that I couldn't get rid of. See, I'm not insane to the point where I'm going to go and murder somebody. I'm not a psychopath. I'm not a sociopath. I'm not a narcissist. And I know this because I've asked my doctor multiple times these things. It's impossible. It's impossible to fake empathy the way I have empathy. It's impossible to fake the compassion the way I have compassion. It's impossible for a narcissist to even consider for a second they might be a narcissist because they're ashamed and embarrassed of the way they acted towards somebody. So clearly, I am not a narcissist, not because I'm saying I'm not, because I had the same therapist for almost a decade. So, when I saw these tarot readings, cyberbullied, oh my God, to an extreme. My devices have been hacked. Well, it's the devices in front of me. Literally, my device is still hacked. The location bubble that will be on if you have, maps on and you're tracking location, it just pops off and on randomly, constantly, consistently, pops off and on. Clearly, my phone's being tracked. Do you think I care? Absolutely not. You know why? I got nothing to hide. I don't care if you follow me. If you jump me from behind, you're a coward just like I think you are. But I'm not worried of somebody jumping me from behind because I'm pretty sure these people know damn well the only way they can get rid of me is it has to look like an accident or I just outright committed suicide because I couldn't take it anymore because they have blocked every possible move I try to make forward. And then try to act like, well, I don't know. Jeez, that's terrible. Boy, that's quite a large reach, that person says, my mom says to me. When I'm like, I have an aunt that lives in South Carolina. That's one of my dad's sisters. My other aunt that lives up by Washington, D.C., married to her husband who retired out of the Pentagon, a military career, Pentagon guy. Tell me these people don't have lawyers as friends. They don't have judges as friends. They do. These are very, very wealthy people who their whole life looked down their nose at me. Even when I had short hair and I was running a business from home in franchise brokerage, I still was scum of the earth to these people because they were all military and they're all this, that, and the other. And while I am grateful for every single man and woman who ever served our country, I'm still going to say every fucking one of you was brainwashed. Our whole country's brainwashed. And I don't care. I don't care what any of you think. That doesn't mean that I can't still live here. That doesn't mean that I can't somehow still put my life back together and generate my own income so I can be self-supporting. But you know what I need? I need somebody to get the fuck out of my way. I need the FBI to do their job and actually take these people in for questioning and put them in prison for stealing. Not just my dad's family, my mom's family. And that inheritance, I'm sure, is way larger than the inheritance from my dad. However, my dad, let's go there. The other day, I'm flipping through, now I watch all kinds of stuff on YouTube. Well, there's something on the Antarctica. Well, I'm going to watch this because in 1975, my mom and I came home from Alaska and my dad went to Antarctica. Okay? When my dad came home from Antarctica a few years later, he bought himself a brand spanking new Cadillac Eldorado. Cadillac Eldorado. And there's a Clutch song called Eldorado. And as I was thinking about this one day, the Eldorado is in the song. So I went, oh, Eldorado. And I'm listening to the lyrics. It's almost as if my dad was talking to me. That's the way it felt. As I'm listening to the lyrics of this song, it's as if my dad was speaking to me through song from spirit. That is how profound some of this is to me. How connected I feel sometimes to receiving messages from the other side, from the spirit world, from whatever it is. So, in this show, this documentary that I watched on Antarctica, I was just curious. Well, okay, there's some kind of alien structure that's been there long before humans existed. And of course, are we so ignorant? Are we so full of ego that it's infinite in every direction and there's not something else out there? It would be pretty stupid. It would be pretty, keeping a person in everlasting ignorance. That'd be ignorant to think that there's nothing anywhere, that we're the be all end all, that it was only God and that's it. Well, I believe that there's something, and I do know this, that my dad went to Antarctica, and my dad was an Army Ranger, and my dad was a mathematical genius. He came home from Antarctica. He went to St. Cloud State University, got his master's in science as an electrical engineer, landed a job with a big, huge global corporation called AMP. And apparently at the work celebration, this 6-foot, very well-built, trained swimmer, diver, Army Ranger, airborne marksman dove off of a boat out in a lake in Lake Minnetonka in Minneapolis, off of a boat, hit a boulder, snapped his esophagus. He made it to the surface, gasped for help, and drowned. Well, I'm about to go do some research of my own. I'm going to find the chief medical examiner's report. And if his forehead and face weren't smashed, he did not hit a boulder and snap his esophagus. I promise you. I've watched enough Bones and enough NCIS to know a fucking bullshit story when I hear it. The problem is I was 11 years old then, and I didn't think of this again until I'm going, what's going on around me? And I start to think, wow, my dad might have been murdered. Or it might have been a staged death. He might actually be alive. Because my dad was one of those brains. Or maybe my dad saw too much and they wanted to silence him. So I'm going to blow whistles everywhere here. I don't care. Come for me. Come for me. United States government, feds, or even these local clowns that want to continue to drive me insane so I react out of character. It's called rage baiting. My mom just did it to me twice last week. Haven't talked to her since, and I probably, will only talk to her if my phone rings and it's her telling me that somebody in the family passed away. Because really, I have no desire to talk to somebody who's lied to me and tortured me for 53 years. And something just popped up on my phone as if it was just a confirmation. See, I can do this all day long. Confirmation after confirmation after confirmation when I'm walking around out there and I think something, or I'm in the shower and I think this was the situation. Geez, my dad went to Antarctica. He came home and a few years later, the water got hot. Right as I was thinking, he's dead. It just hot for a second. And then I thought, and then there's so I've got my dad's side of things, and then there's Wolters Kluwer. The water got hot for a second. And I got goosebumps as I'm telling you this. Literally, I can see my skin like chicken skin. Wolters Kluwer. My great uncle sold Wolters Kluwer, or sold Banker Systems to Wolters Kluwer in 1997. And I don't know if it was for tens of millions or hundreds of millions, but I do know that my great uncle owned an island. And an island's been talked about in these readings. Land up in Canada. And I don't even care about that. I don't care even that I wouldn't care that he never left me anything. I wouldn't have expected it. But that man might have watched me toil and labor. Toil and labor doing legitimate legal things and struggle to the extreme financially. Again, talk about spell work and casting spells on your finances. And I don't know if I've sabotaged myself or if the spell work they talk about is actually going and interfering by talking with people and hey, don't send that money to him, just send it to me because this is what he did and this is what we're going to do to him. And people actually buy into this shit and try to destroy an innocent man's life based off of some terrible lie. Their ministry. Terrible lie. No, 9 Inch Nails. Yeah. So I like to use music a lot. References in music when I say things. Oh, that's a lyric in a song. Terrible lie. It's a 9 Inch Nails song. And as I was thinking about all this stuff, that song came on one day. I'm like, wow, yeah, they told terrible lies about me. I don't know what it is, but I can only imagine. I can only imagine. So how do I stay consistent? This is it. Putting out a video, 100% authentic, unfiltered, unedited, as real as it gets. My hair, still bedhead, haven't showered today, still in my pajama shorts, was going to go do my laundry. And I live in an apartment building with 80 freaking units, and there's only 5 wash machines in the whole freaking building, and 2 of them are broke. Now that I don't think is anything. It's not a paranoia about me. It's just these are the kind of this is the kind of situation that I have to live in when I actually went out and built a legitimate business that somebody from behind the scenes interfered with. I don't belong in this government subsidized housing where people actually need it. I belong living wherever the hell I want with the money that belonged to me from the family members that left it to me in their will that my other family members stole because they're white-collar criminals who have looked down their nose at me thinking they're better than me. They don't even know anything about my life. My aunts and uncles that live out east, but see, here's the thing. Bill Clemens, the founder of Banker Systems, at some point hired, many of, at least 3 of my 4, maybe all 4 of my uncles worked there at one time. But my godfather, Bob White, I'm going to just slander the fuck out of all of you. I don't care now. My godfather, Bob White, and his pretty penny wife, and pennies. I can't get away from seeing pennies. I was on my daily walk one day. I step up onto the sidewalk from the road. There's a penny with an ant next to it. Well, clearly, that was a statement. That means my Aunt Penny. And here comes the car. And the 3 letters before the numbers were A-N-T. And the next one was J-E-N. Well, one of her daughter's name is Jennifer. And as I look across the street, there's a South Dakota plate. Jennifer lives in South Dakota. And spray painted on the sidewalk was SD. This happened within 30 seconds. But they didn't steal anything from me. I started seeing the name Murphy. I'd be flipping through Facebook. Murphy bed for sale. I'd turn on a movie and I'd be looking out the window and I'd look up at the screen and the name Murphy across the screen. I'm driving down the road up north Minnesota. Here's the town Murphy. On the radio, Murphy this, Murphy everywhere, Murphy. And I started telling my friend, hey, how do I find out if I was ever left in somebody's will? Because I have reason to believe that my family might have stole a will from me. And he says, oh, why don't you go talk to my friend Mike Murphy at Murphy Law Office? I'm like, wow, okay, that's why I started seeing the name Murphy. Literally, the guy that lives 2 floors above me, his name is Mike Murphy. One day I'm, up at his place visiting with him, and that's how I learned his last name. His computer screen just flashed the name Mike Murphy came up in big letters. So I walk into Mike Murphy Law Office one day, and I said, excuse me, could you help me find out if I was ever in somebody's will? What's your name? Simon Eklund. I know who you are. Literally like that. Not a pause. Where have I heard that name before? I know who you are. I said, how's that? Well, I went to high school with your mother. Okay. My mom had me when I was 22, apparently. And I say apparently now because all these things, these readings say that you might have been switched at birth. And I asked my mom, did you birth me? She said, yes. Now, there's a picture of my mother with an infant in a church at a baptism. But there is no picture ever anywhere of my mother pregnant with me. And I know that they took pictures of pregnant bellies and, pictures were taken when my mom was a child and everything. So where are the pictures for the whole 9 months she was pregnant? Were they embarrassed because my mom wasn't married, or was she married? I don't know. My mom said that her and my dad split up while she was pregnant. I never knew that till just like a year ago. There's a lot I didn't know, but see, my godfather, now Penny, is Bob's wife. Bob and Penny are my godparents. You know, I'm the firstborn great-grandson, both families, grandson, nephew, niece, whatever. The firstborn for at least 3 years. I think Jennifer White might have just turned 50, or maybe she's 51. So I'm either 2 or 3 years older. But regardless, had nothing to do with anything other than these are my godparents. Bob worked for Banker System. You know, I think he went to the military. Bob was a twin. His twin brother John died when he was 50 years old. This is like 20 years ago or something now. 20, yeah, probably 20 years, at least 20 years ago. So John, Bob's twin, passed away when he was 50. Bob is now about, 74 to 77. I don't know. My mom's 76. Maybe Bob's older. He must be 77 or 78. Bob was the president. My godfather was the president, CEO of Banker Systems when Bill Clemens sold it to Wolters Kluwer. And Bob remained the president until he retired. Now, good for Bob. He earned his right in his place. But this is one thing I can imagine. He's one of those ego dudes. He's got a big ego. I remember a statement made by my mom about my Uncle Bob. And this is where I started disliking my godfather, is when I heard my mom say that Bob said that my mom could do better than a college professor. Because my stepdad, who's an abusive asshole, by the way, but nonetheless, it's the man that my mom chose to marry, that she fell in love with, that my mom could do better than a college professor. And what do you mean by you can do better than a college professor? Clearly, he's one of those that looks down his nose. He's one of those white-collar people that if you don't earn a certain amount of money, you're not an intelligent being. You're not even worthy of breathing. This man stole an inheritance and paid people in the community to torture me. Him and his sister. And, that's just me saying that's what the universe has shown me in so many different ways. I can go on and on and on with the stories. But, so how do I stay consistent? It's not easy, because I did not want to record this video today at all. I'm angry. I'm angry at myself that through all this shit, I won't smoke weed for 3 months. I won't even take care of myself sexually because, I might damage an opportunity. I might block some opportunity from some person because I've now done something that they don't like. Well, I'm a human being. I have sexual needs and I'm a man, and I'm not just running around sleeping with any woman just because she will. Because I want to be with the right woman. And I believe that the right woman will show up in my life when the time is right. Certainly not anybody from my past. Absolutely not. I don't care what they say. There's nobody from my past that could convince me that they're the right woman for me to be with. Because looking back, had I had healthy boundaries, I would have not gotten married to either one of my wives. Matter of fact, the first time I would have just stayed single. I would have stayed single for a long time. But, according to what I've learned in trauma, it makes sense that I was terrified of being alone. So I settled for way less than I deserved. And I hope my exes see this. I do. Financial abuse is real. Micromanaging and financial abuse is abuse. And my mom's done it to me over and over and over again. And both my ex-wives were financial abusers. I just turned the paycheck right over to them right up until we were bankrupt. And then it was my fault. Because I belonged to a motorcycle club. My motorcycle club adventures didn't cost that much money. And my dues were really cheap. I mean, Most people probably spend more belonging to the frickin' Rotary Club or their local church. Like, that was my church. Those were my people. Even the ones that were sick and broken, you know why? Who did Jesus go to? He certainly didn't go to the people that were in church, that knew how to pray and knew how to live right. He went to the ones that were broken and beaten by society, who were neglected and abused. And here I'm still denying Jesus. Like, man, don't talk to me about Jesus. You know why? I lived at least 30 years longer than Jesus has, and I've been tortured through technology. I've been tortured in my community. I've been tortured every way possible. Jesus doesn't have anything on me. None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Jesus was the only begotten Son of God. Are you kidding me? We are creation of God. Every human being is a child of God. This bullshit of Jesus was the only Son, and then he sent him to be crucified, right? Crucified. And now God looks down and all he sees is the blood of Christ, and God's happy. That's about the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. The most stupid thing I ever heard in my life. And while there is truth in the Bible, in that scripture, the stories they use are an absolute slap in the face to somebody who's been through an overabundance of trauma and knows the truth about God. I can't stand born-again Christians. They look down their nose at me. They act like my relationship with God isn't right. I don't need anybody to tell me how to have a relationship with the God of my understanding who created me. My church is right here, right now. My belief is every human being is a temple of God. They are their own connection to God, therefore they are their own God. If they really think, well, what would God have me do? If they're really truly thinking about what God, would God have me just go have random sex with this female? Well, likely not. But he's not going to throw me in hell and call me a sinner if I just go have random sex with a female who consensually wants to have random sex with me. But talk to a born-again Christian, oh, you're a sinner. You're going to go to hell. I was basically manipulated into accepting Jesus into my life by being invited to some frickin' Christian production, Heaven's Gates and Hell Flames. This is 30 years ago. I was about a year sober, and a friend invited me to go to the church, and so I went to church. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous says, be quick to see where religious people are right. And I take everything in that book very seriously. It saved my life. So, be quick to see where religious people are right. And I went to this thing, and they made this big production, Heaven's Gates, Hell's Flames. And, when they're doing this prayer, and anybody that wants Jesus to come into their heart and be their savior, I raised my hand because I was feeling emotional. And you know what? I don't appreciate being emotionally manipulated into doing something I didn't want to do. Not because I'm the Antichrist. It's because while it's the truth that holding on to resentment will do me no good, I'm not the guy who's going to sit here and say, oh, forgive them, God. They did not know what they did. These people hatched a plan to take an inheritance from me because they figured I would end my own life, that I would literally commit suicide or I'd overdose on drugs and die. And, well, I never used enough methamphetamine or crack cocaine to overdose and die. But somebody did give me methamphetamine laced with fentanyl, and I almost died. And it was in the middle of the mix of all this crap. When Bill Clemens passed away in the winter of 2016, I was told about his passing. And I was told that there'd be a celebration of life in the spring sometime or the summer. Never, ever was invited to this thing. And that's not where a will reading is going to be done either, I wouldn't imagine. But I was never invited to this thing, to this celebration of life, because I was an embarrassment to the family, apparently. That's the only thing I can imagine, even though out of all those people, who really ever went to visit Virginia Clemens in her wheelchair while Bill Clemens was at work? Little Simon used to go over there because I didn't want to be at home, so I'd leave the home and I'd go see if I could visit with Virginia because she'd pay attention to me. She'd sit on the floor because she was in a wheelchair, so she'd get on the floor with her blanket around her, and we'd play pickup sticks. We'd play Uno. We'd play Go Fish. You think my Uncle Bill Clemens just thought, oh, Simon, he's just a deadbeat drug addict. He ain't worth shit. And he owned an island, for crying out loud. So hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm sure. He donated millions a year to the different Catholic schools around here and colleges. I mean, the man was extremely wealthy. And while I'm not his blood, and I wouldn't have expected anything, all these other things, all the signs and synchronicities here in Walter's Kluwer everywhere, here in Mike Murphy Law Office, and I walk into Mike Murphy Law Office, and oh, I know who you are. I went to high school with your mom, who had me when she was 22, and I never heard Mike Murphy come out of her mouth in my entire life at the time. That was not last summer, the summer before, so I was 51. In 51 years, I never heard the name Mike Murphy. Now, of course, the name Murphy is a popular name, but I didn't have any reason to start picking up on the name Murphy when I started picking up on the name Murphy everywhere and was guided into Murphy Law Office. And then we sit down at his desk, and I'm feeling pretty uncomfortable, but I get the death date and the birth date of both my aunt and my uncle, my great aunt and uncle. And he writes down a web address and he slides it across the table. He goes, you know, I wasn't expecting anybody to come in today. And this guy doesn't have anybody in his office. His office is a hoarder mess. This guy is a lawyer, and his office is just paperwork on top of paperwork on top of paperwork all over the floor, all over everything. His desk is a mess. Everything is a disorganized mess. He's one of those strange, eccentric people. And he goes to me, I wasn't expecting anybody to come in today. You can look this up on your own. Maybe the family thought a guy was out on a cocaine bender. All right. Now that was just a little too accurate. And when I confronted my mother, oh, he just says stupid things like that. It's always something. My mom always has a way to just smooth the icing on the cake and just, oh, forget about that, Simon. No, that's not. You know, oh, that's for privileged people, not for people like you. You know? So how do I stay consistent? Exactly like this. I'm going to put this out here. It's a long one. I can see it's an hour and 22 minutes. I hope somebody actually watches this. I don't expect anybody to. Maybe someday I'll figure out how to populate these and get this information in front of people, just like somebody did with the tarot readings. You know, I asked God, and I'd like to believe that it was God, but then there's also messages that are like messages for chosen ones. Chosen ones, God just stopped everything in heaven for you. Well, first of all, how is any human being on this planet going to know exactly what's going on in God's world? Because I can be as intuitive and whatever, but then again, maybe what I'm experiencing is supernatural to me. It's uncomfortable to talk about because people are like, I don't know. And I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I just want somebody to do some investigating because I don't have the resources. I'm one man with a broke tank. Like I have very little money to live on until either somehow some lawyer hears and sees this and says, oh, I'll get your Social Security and I'll get everything back to like way back to where the problem really started when I was a kid. A lawyer sees